Hey guys, Synthetic here and welcome back to AOR, this time for the Belgium Grand Prix. And here you can see the weather for the race. You can see that it will be raining, so we have to change our setup a bit, which we will do in just a second. Here you can see my setup in general. I opted to go for 10 ballast and I wasn't quite sure what kind of rear wing I should drive, because in rain conditions it might be better to use a higher rear wing, and I wasn't really sure how much rear wing would be great, and I opted to go for 10 at the end. So yeah, here we are now for qualifying, and something that really cost me a lot of nerves was that I had lag spikes everywhere. You might not be able to see them, but they were absolutely horrible in qualifying. It was just on another level. I noticed it in earlier races, but this time it was just horrible to drive. I missed apexes, I broke too late, it was very difficult to drive, and part of this might be due to my connection. I noticed quite early that something wasn't really working. Even when we are in the lobby, there were already a lot of communication problems, which is quite strange. It never really happened to me, and here you can see Alex's car spun right in front of me, which distracted me quite a lot, and yeah, the whole lap was simply horrible to drive. My goal was to get P11 or P12 because I wanted to start on a harder compound, because it's faster to avoid an extra stop starting on harder compound of tires, because the ultra softs are wearing quite a lot around here. They are only making like I think 4 or 5 laps, and after that they will be very slow. And so I wasn't too sad about the lap itself being not perfect at all, but something I didn't expect was the position I got at the end, because you can see we got P5, which is really strange, and you can see our teammate as well got P11, which is very good for him. And here we are now for the race. It's 5 red lights and lights out, and away we go. And to be honest, I wasn't really sure when to brake for turn 1 because of the lag. And here you can see we broke way too late, and unfortunately we hit Daniel, and after the race I already said sorry to him because I felt quite bad about the contact. But here we are now in place P7. We have Clay on our left, and somehow the game crashed us both on his screen, which is really unfortunate. I think it's part of the connection I had at the beginning, and it was feeling very, very strange. I have no explanation for these problems, because in earlier races there weren't any kind of problems of this kind, so I have to improve on that. And here you can see Curly went quite aggressive on us, and he dived up on our inside with slight bit of contact, but I think it was quite okay. And yeah, here we are now at the end of the lap. I think Curly again hit someone. I think it was Flores, and of course we get another illegal overtake. Again, we had to evade, we had no choice, and of course we will get a 5-second stop and go penalty again, which is again quite unfair, to be honest. But there's not much we can do except pushing to get a gap to the cars behind. And here you can see Nardi was in our slipstream, and he pulled to the left, so we are defending from him, and we were able to just about manage to stay ahead and leave him some space. But I knew that my setup wouldn't work at all in these conditions, because the higher rear wing would make me very slow on the straights and would give me more understeer in the corners, so I knew we would be slower. And again, he goes to the left, and this time it's much more difficult to keep him behind because he's very close. But yeah, we were able to stay ahead once again, but I knew it was just a matter of time when he would overtake us. And fortunately we were able to keep the gap to the cars in front, but Nadi was at this point very quick, and I knew fighting wouldn't be the smartest decision, especially because the cars behind us had fresher tires. And at this point you can see Nadi made quite an aggressive but solid move. He pulled to the right and surprised me a little bit, but fair play, it was a good move by him. And here you can see we pulled to the right to let our teammate pass, because I noticed he was on the softs and I knew his strategy might be able to win the race, because he wouldn't make another pit stop. So we left him pass and try and help him as much as possible. And here you can see in lap 4 we went to the pits because I had the feeling that the rain would take some time. So my plan was to go on softs and try to take them as far as possible. And you can see we went out of the pits in P14, which is not good at all. I knew from there on in it would be very difficult to get more positions. And here in lap 7 you can see it's already starting to rain, but just a little bit. There was not much rain, and I thought maybe if I'm lucky the rain would take a few laps and somehow we might be able to close the gap. And you can see Chicken is right in front of us, and he's on intermediates, and you can see he's really struggling. He has no traction at all, and we were able to get past very easily. And something that really surprised me as well was to see Ollie just up ahead. He also opted for the intermediates and they weren't working at all. So we made the right strategy call, because the softs would work really well, because it's a harder compound, and harder compounds are working very well in rain conditions compared to the softer ones. And yeah, we are now in P12, which is at least a little improvement. And here are a few people into the pits. I think Clarky went on intermediates, and I think at this point the softs were working quite well. I didn't really have too much over and understeer, so I just stayed out because there's no point in pitting when the tires are feeling well. And here we are in P11, and you can see the cars in front. They are also on intermediate tires, and they are really struggling as well. And next up is Nardi, and you can see he basically lost the back end, and we were easily able to overtake him. And now we are somehow into the points. You can see the barrier was lagging as well, which caught me off quite a lot. And here we are now. We have Davidos ahead of us, and I noticed very quickly that my braking was a lot better compared to the other cars. I was able to brake really late without locking up or overshooting the corner. And here you can see we are in lap 9 now, and Davidos tried to brake late as well, but somehow he wasn't really able to make the corner, so we slipped through into P9, and we have Deagle now next up ahead, which was quite insane. I was really surprised yeah, how far we could get up, because the race was really upside down at this point. You can see Curly as well. He stayed out on the ultra soft, which wasn't the ideal decision, because yeah, we made up more than just one pit stop over him, and you can see our teammate went into the pits, which is a sign that we should stop for intermediates at this point. Unfortunately, we got held up in the pits because in this game, if your teammate stops ahead of you, you will get held up a few seconds. But we get out in P9 or P8, sorry, which is really solid, and you can see Ollie left the session, which is really unfortunate. It's of course not the way I wanted to gain points in the championship. And next up ahead is I think Deagle and Clarky. They are both fighting as we lose the back end through Eau Rouge, which is not what you want. It can be very, very dangerous. And we were able to close the gap quite rapidly, and here you can see as well how late we could brake without really overshooting the corner. I really don't know why everyone was braking that early, because yeah, I think everyone could brake probably 30-40 meters later, which can make up probably a second a lap, and you will see that in a lap later, or in one of the last laps. And here we are now in lap 14. Clarky ahead. I think both Deagle and Clarky went wide, so let's see whether we are able to make a move on them. They are going side by side in a tricky spot, and I tried to make the most of it and take a different line, and we were able to get past Clarky. He hit us a little bit, but I think it wasn't on purpose, and yeah, we were able to get up another position into P7. And next up ahead was Deagle, who was quite fast in the wet. But I noticed especially my late braking gained me a lot of time on him. Here you can see it as well in the bus stop chicane. We just gained so much time in this part alone, and it's a question of where we can get past, because here you can see we were able to brake very late again, but it seems that our traction isn't really good enough to stay close to Deagle, and at this point I wasn't sure whether we have slipstream, because quite a lot of people left the session. You can see we are just 14 people out of the I think 18 at the beginning of the race, and we are not really gaining anything on the straights, and we are looking slightly for the inside, but of course we are not close enough to make any kind of impression on him, so we have to stick behind and yeah, try to be as patient as possible. And here again, you can see our line is quite stable. We aren't really, or don't do many mistakes at all. The setup felt quite well, although it caused slight understeer, but it wasn't too bad. I think the car handled very well, and yeah, we weren't really able to get much closer. I think there wasn't slipstream at all, or if just slightly. Maybe Deagle was running less wings as well. That might be a possibility, as we tried to look for his inside and we couldn't really pull it off, so we tried to get a good run out of the bus stop chicane and tried to brake late for turn 1, and we weren't really able to get the position here, and he left us the space, which was also very nice from him. In general, I had a lot of good fights with Deagle. He's a very clean and very fair driver, and it's always a lot of fun to fight against him. You might have seen this in the earlier races. I'm fighting quite a lot with him. Sorry. And here again we brake later, but it's too difficult to get past, and so we have to be patient and may wait on some kind of mistake or anything. And again, lap 21, we aren't really close enough. We opted for third gear this time to have a little bit more turn in, and it seems that it worked. And you can see Deagle was expecting us to go up on his inside, and we weren't really thinking about a move, but we were luckily able to make it stick anyways, which was quite strange. And yeah, we are now in P5 after being P14 in lap 4, and I will leave you guys now with the last lap of the Grand Prix, and I will talk to you guys later. And here we are now for the last corners of the race. You can see Alex was able to win the race, and I was extremely happy for him because he absolutely deserved this race win. And due to a penalty of the cars ahead, we were able to get P4, which is really lucky if you consider we were out of the points in lap 4. And yeah, that was basically the race. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next race as well. Goodbye.